Hey guys, welcome into Fantasy Football Academy 2020. I'm the Dean, and this is Overreaction Monday. But before we get to that, I've got a very special tribute over the weekend. We lost one of the most iconic figures in Hollywood. And you guys know I'm not real big on honoring Hollywood, but this guy in particular was a great part of my childhood growing up. Was kind of a bond, if you will, to my dad and myself. My dad got me into this guy, got me watching his movies and got me hooked. And if you didn't catch the pun, I'm talking about the one, the only Sir Sean Connery. Passed away on Halloween. So if you didn't need another reason to not like 2020, here we go. I do want to take a moment, and we're going to do a small tribute to the late, great Sean Connery. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen, the iconic Sean Connery, most well known for his work as James Bond, less well known. Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry about that. But less well known for his work on The Avengers, on Darby O'Gill and the Little People, Murder on the Orient Express, Entrapment with Catherine Zeta-Jones, and also The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, just to name a few more. Hashtag rest in peace 007. So Moment of silence for Sean Connery. All right, guys, so let's get into Overreaction Monday. We're going to take a quick look at some of the goings on of the league of record with the academy. Let's take a look real quick. We're going to look at the game center here. Let's switch this over. Now, some of you might be waiting for the Monday night game that's coming up between the Giants and the Bucks. If you are, good luck. You're probably waiting on Tom Brady, Mike Evans. A couple of you may be waiting on Gronk, but whoever you are waiting on, good luck. As far as my matchup this week with Mr. Luke, you see 122 to 92, a 30-point differential. Carson Wentz not really panning out like you hoped he did, only 12 points. CEH definitely not, and we're going to go over my hits and misses on my sits and starts for this past week. You see two of them right here with Bell and CEH kind of getting extremely same numbers, but the real news in that game was Patrick Mahomes. We're going to show you real quick here on the returning champs. And this is the beatdown of the week, 198 to 62. Yes, he still has a wide receiver and a running back, so that's not going to affect the outcome. It will affect his point total. Hopefully he can, Mr. Dustin of Keller's Bakery at 627 Lafayette Street in Youngsville, one of the sponsors. Appreciate the love. And if you are in the Lafayette area, please make sure that you stop by. If you're on Facebook, go ahead and order through there. They can take orders through Facebook. And when you go down, mention that the dean sent you and get you 2 free cookies. But back to the beatdown of the week, we see returning champ Mandy just absolutely going crazy. Dalvin Cook having a career day, 163, 3 rushing touchdowns, 63 yards receiving, and another touchdown, 4 in total. Absolutely single-handedly destroying the Green Bay Packers. And then we see Mahomes, 4, 16, and 5 passing touchdowns for 46 points. There's just no coming back from that one, guys. You just don't do that. Plus, with Metcalf chipping in 161 and 2 TDs, that's just crazy. Baltimore getting the win, 28-24, 4 sacks, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles, and a touchdown. So, Big Ben not looking particularly good. Did have kind of a decent day for fantasy. Had about 19 points in fantasy, so I'll take the L on that one for the sit. You could have started him and had a pretty decent day. Let's look real quick. Pull up the players here. And we're going to go all players. Let's check out our QB rankings for this Overreaction Monday. And these are guys who you're going to be overreacting to on the waiver wire. These are free agents and maybe a couple of regulars who just had an above average day that you might not be expecting. Matthew Stafford, look, a lot of people might call Matt Stafford's 336 and 3 touchdowns an overreaction. I'm telling you right now, Matt, this is the Matt Stafford that I was expecting. Let's look up upcoming weeks. Guys, you see, he's been doing this on a consistent basis. He's got under 20 only twice That was week 1 against Chicago, who's actually a very good pass defense. If you watched the Saints game, you saw that. And then again against Jacksonville, he just had an off day there. But he's been throwing touchdowns. He's been throwing for yardage. He's had his two past games, both over 330 yards at least in both of them. 3 touchdowns against Indy, who going in, some people were seeing that their numbers were a little inflated because they really hadn't played anyone yet. And now they're kind of getting into it, kind of like the Patriots of last year, that in the beginning of the season, the first half of the season, they were really, really good. Everyone was dying to get their defense, and then they started to fall off toward the end. So is that going to be the case with Indy? I don't know. It is yet to be seen. But if we look at the rest of his schedule, we see he gets Minnesota next, who is going to be an awesome start for him. Washington, Carolina, Houston. Get Chicago again in week 13. That's probably not going to be a real good matchup for him. Then he gets Green Bay, Tennessee, and Tampa. Now, Tampa's going to be rough, but if you're looking for a streaming quarterback, if you're looking for somebody to maybe to throw on your bench to help you out during a bye week, week 9, 10, 12, 14 is probably going to be your targets for Matt Stafford. Is he somebody that you want to roster? Probably not, because there's probably better options out there. But in those matchups, he's definitely a plug and play. Now, I will take a victory lap on this next one. Phillip Rivers. I told you guys on my last episode with my sit starts that you wanted Phillip Rivers. He had 30 points against Cincinnati, who's definitely somebody you can throw on in week 6. Then he had the bye, comes back against Detroit, 28 points, 262 and 3 touchdowns. So I will take the victory lap on that one. Anything over 25 points, it's definitely a must start. Had been a must start quarterback. Now he does get Baltimore and Tennessee coming up in the next 2 weeks, so probably not the best option in the short term. But we look long term. He gets Green Bay, Tennessee, Houston, Vegas, and Houston again. So for that stretch, I'm really liking Phillip Rivers in that stretch. Now for the fantasy football Super Bowl, he gets Pittsburgh. I'm not really jiving with that one. But for that stretch of those next few weeks, he's definitely, once you get past week 10, he's a definite start. Now, the overreaction here, people might be overreacting to Drew Lock, might be having flashbacks. Guys, you should look at this output here, okay? Out for 3 weeks, had negative 1.2 points against Pittsburgh, 15 against Tennessee. And I know what you might be saying, well, Dean, those are pretty decent defenses, right? Yes, but look at New England. Decimated by injuries, had the most holdouts for COVID, and he still only gets 3.46 points. Then against KC, he barely is under 13. Then he just explodes. Now, he gets Atlanta and Vegas next. So that might not be too bad. But then he winds up with KC and Buffalo weeks 13 and 15, right in the heart of either getting ready for your fantasy playoffs or in the semifinal game, week 15. I'm sorry, but there is not enough proof here for me to confidently say Drew Lock needs to be started or rostered. Okay. I'm just not trusting it. Because remember, guys, if you want to reign supreme, you got to have a little history behind you. Now we look down here, a lot of familiar names. Drew Brees, Joe Burrow. Burrow turned in a decent performance, kind of what we kind of come to expect of him. It's actually a little lower than his normal point total. He's been chucking for about 300 yards. We got 249 and 2 TDs. So not too bad against a good Tennessee defense. Nick Mullins. Now, I told you guys to go out and start Jimmy G. Jimmy G exited this game with injury. Nick Mullins steps in. He gets 238, 2 touchdowns for 21 points. So here's the thing. Dependent on the health of Jimmy G, Nick Mullins could be a very serviceable fill-in. You see back in week 3 against the Giants, he got 19 points. And I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's against the Giants. But when he is in, they do score. So, yeah, I'm saying keep an eye on Jimmy G's health. If Nick Mullins is going to be the starting quarterback moving forward and he gets a good favorable matchup, I don't see any problem with starting him. We see Nick Foles make an appearance here. Look, I said it before when they were 3-0. I'll say it now. I believe they're 5-2. But this Chicago team is the ugliest winning record team I have seen in a very long time. Okay. They just don't look good. They win ugly. Given, they've dropped, I believe 2 of the last 3, if I'm not mistaken. So, guys, please do not overreact and think that this is the return of Nick Foles from Philly, okay? Pump the brakes, chill out. There's better options that you can find out there, okay, guys? Look at wide receivers or running backs real quick. Top of the list by a mile, Dalvin Cook. Now, we see down here, we get past the top 2, and we see Giovanni Bernard. I told you guys before, if you had Joe Mixon, you needed to go sign Giovanni Bernard to your squad. If you didn't have Joe Mixon and Giovanni Bernard was available, you needed to get Gio in your lineup, start him. It was an awesome start. Tell me I'm wrong now. Okay, 22 points for fantasy, 62 yards and a touchdown, 16 yards receiving, and a TD as well. So, Gio scores touchdowns. That's all I got to say. And with the way that Joe Burrow is playing, I'm telling you right now, Gio is going to be a good option for you moving forward. I'm glad Mr. Dalton listened to my advice and signed Gio. Now, we go down the next few players. I'm telling you right now, pump your brakes and chill out for a second because DJ Dallas, this is going to be dependent upon the health of both Carlos Hyde and Chris Carson. Chris Carson was a scratch. He was inactive in this game. Carlos Hyde's also dinged up. So DJ Dallas steps in. Is he capable? Yes. If you need running back help, this is a team that's going to have to score points somewhere. We saw that DK Metcalf had his day. Last week, in week 7, we saw that Tyler Lockett had his day scoring 56 points. So this team has a plethora of players that can score rapidly for the offense. Their defense, horrible. But once they do get up, they will be running the ball. They still use their running back out of the backfield. We see 5 targets for 17 yards. In PPR leagues, this is a great play. In regular standard scoring leagues, maybe not so much, but the 2 touchdowns definitely help. Now, given this was against San Fran's defense is kind of suspect. They have their moments, but DJ Dallas, if he's on your free agent list, which he probably is, and you're either the Chris Carson owner or the Carlos Hyde owner, you might want to sign this guy and have him on your squad. Nyheim Hines was probably the top running back option in free agency. We see 8 yards, no touchdowns, but used in the passing game, 3 receptions, 54 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air. Jonathan Taylor, really a non-factor in this game. Jordan Wilkins, look, they're not going to lean on this guy. Jonathan Taylor, they spent way too much draft capital to step away from him this early. So chill out. Don't worry about it. It'll be okay. Nyheim Hines may be a good stash along with DJ Dallas, who I would just love to be on the Cowboys because the name just fits. It would just be cool. Now we see Zach Moss. So this is a backfield that you really don't know if you want anything to do with because Singletary is there. Zach Moss is there. Yes, they're probably going to be leaning on Zach Moss. Is this the time halfway through the season when they actually start to lean on Zach Moss a little bit? It's yet to be seen, but against a New England team that is, like I said, kind of riddled with injuries and really reeling on both sides of the ball right now. The first time they've had this much of a losing streak. There's only 2 teams that have a bigger losing streak in the NFL. One of them is the Jets. And for the life of me, I can't remember who the other one is right now. But the Jets and one other team are keeping New England from falling to the bottom. Buffalo getting this win against New England and staying on top of the AFC East for once. So we see 20 points there. I think that Zach Moss can be a good stash for you. Go down and take a look at his rest of schedule. See, he gets Seattle next, which is a good matchup. Arizona. Then he gets a late bye. Then he gets Chargers, San Fran. Then starting into the playoffs, he gets Pittsburgh, Tennessee, and then New England again. So kind of all over the place for matchups as far as down the stretch. Let's look at wide receivers real quick, guys. We see DK and Devontae, Robert Woods at the top. Corey Davis making an appearance with 8 catches, 128 yards, and a touchdown. And you might remember that this guy was injured. So a lot of people probably forgot about Corey Davis. But we can look down here. Guy's done it before. I mean, he had 100 yards in week 1. Started to fall off a little bit before he got hurt. Came back with a 15-point performance against Pittsburgh. Rest of season, the back end of his schedule doesn't look too bad with Cleveland, Jacksonville, Detroit, and Green Bay. But he's got 4 weeks coming up with Chicago, Indy twice, and Baltimore in between the Indianapolis games. Look, it's going to be rough. If you have a spot to stash this guy, go right ahead because they actually do use him sometimes in the running game. So Corey Davis might be a good stash for you if you have the place to do it, okay? We see Brandon Ayuk making an appearance with Nick and New Car Smell. at going for 8 receptions, 91 yards, and a TD. He was a late pickup for Nick. He was one of my starts of the week. So nice to see that panned out. McCole Hardman making an appearance, 7 receptions, 96 yards, and a TD for 22 points on Nick's bench. In his defense, there were better options at the time, so I'm not going to hate on him too much for that one. Across the board for the league of record here with the Academy grads in 2020, we had kind of a low output here. So we see Mike Williams down here with 5 receptions, 99 yards, and a TD. Look, if Mike Williams is available on your squad, go out and get him. Look, Justin Herbert can't throw the deep ball. Mike Williams loves going to get the deep ball. We see Travis Fulgham making an appearance as well with 19.8 points, above Tyler Boyd, below Allen Robinson. Robinson finally getting some work. Game against Dallas. Now, it was against Dallas, so I don't know how much I would take away from that. But overreactions for receivers. Now, Tyreek Hill making an appearance here. Look, any Chiefs wide receiver is going to be hit and miss. If your name is not Travis Kelce, you're not guaranteed anything. Okay, guys? Really no big, huge surprises. Curtis Samuel making an appearance on Carolina, but they were going against Atlanta, so I don't know how much weight I'm going to put behind that one. McCole Hardman will probably be the most overreacted to in this list. So see, I do want to touch real quick. Let's see. I'm going to check out Drew Lock's rest of the season. Atlanta, Vegas, Miami, New Orleans. So that stretch right there might not be too bad for the young QB. It might be something to get him rolling. So please just play him in a week-to-week matchup, if you will. Let's look at tight ends. Travis Kelce, number 1. I love me some Travis. So Jared Cook coming up big. 5 receptions, 51 yards. The TD gets him up here. Robert Tonyan. TJ Hawkinson, guys, I told y'all before the season started that Hawkinson was a good player to go get, and we see Eric Ebron making an appearance as well. If you guys watch this game, it wasn't a very pretty game passing-wise. Big Ben looked bad. Lamar looked bad. The whole team just looked bad. How they got that many points scored is beyond me, but it happened. 4 receptions, 48 yards. The TD gets him up here. Very touchdown dependent. We see Noah Fant, Dalton Schultz. And look, Schultz going forward with Dallas, as long as DiNucci is the quarterback, Schultz is going to be a very playable option for you because he's probably going to be the safety blanket. If you guys saw him trying to get balls to his other wide receivers, it looked bad. I'm not going to lie. It looked bad. And the Wildcat that they keep running with Zeke just trying to get a little something, that kind of, gives me pause for concern. I see Baby Hands Jack Doyle coming up here with a touchdown. Trey Burton getting up here as well. All right, so guys, that's Overreaction Monday. Please make sure that you're doing your homework on this. Make sure that you're looking at the rest of season ranking or rest of season schedule for players that you might be overreacting to. You might be looking at these guys for waiver wire pickups, which is going to be the show tomorrow. Make sure that you tune in and check out the show. And remember that, we are getting into the holiday season. So I want you guys to take care of each other. I want you guys to think about others. If you saw my latest post for Twitter, which you can find me at FantasyDean20. If you have any questions about your lineup or about players that you might be thinking about picking up or dropping, because remember, pick somebody up, you got to drop somebody. So tune in tomorrow for my waiver show. But I want you guys to remember my latest post, helping out with the community, giving blood. We are in that season where blood donations are at an extreme low. I donated with my talent. We also have a blood drive coming up for OSC and Eunice. We're going to have more on that as we get closer to it. I'll be putting out a little more information on Twitter for that. But guys, make sure that you give when you can, and if you can, you reproduce blood and you got some to spare. Go ahead and give some. Somebody needs it somewhere. So remember, guys, good luck on Monday morning. Don't overreact unnecessarily. Make sure you do your homework. And remember to tune in next time for our waiver show. Down the bottom, subscribe, like, and share. Get those notifications. And let me know where you're giving, what you're giving, and that you're giving. Okay, guys? So for next time, until next time, this has been the Dean, and this has been Fantasy Football Academy 2020.